Okay. Uh, so in this session, guys, I want to cover, some basics related to message flow, uh, types of nodes, and then this service call out action, and then xquery transformation. Okay. Um, we are touching like few things, many things here, but when it comes to xquery transformation, I don't know how many of you had some introduction to xquery, but yeah, at least in this session, we will just as if like look at it from like, oh, if we know at least this much for what we are doing now, that would be enough. And then that's one thing I definitely want to kind of squeeze in, like maybe a small session just on xquery. So we will see how that goes. Okay, and one other thing is like since this remote discussion, what I did was I have a tablet, so that if I have to like sketch out a few things, I want to try using that. So this is my first hand at it, so it might not be that smooth. So let's see how that goes. Okay. Uh, Message flow, right? So message flow is part of the proxy service, uh, and then all the processing that we do as part of the message flow is in itself what we call mediation, right? As the message is going through OSB, all the processing that we do on that message is what is done in the message flow. Okay. um, Nodes. OSB, for message flow construction, OSB provides few types of nodes, four types of nodes. Okay, start node, route node, branch node, pipeline pair node. We will be looking at a high level, about these basic nodes, what they are, and then we will try to see how to use them up in like various processes, where do they stand, and stuff. Okay. So here I have a simple diagram, with one color for each type of node. So the message flow begins with the start node. Okay. Every message flow begins with the start node. That's the default node, and that's a node that cannot be modified. Okay. Then you have three other types of nodes, right? Branch node, pipeline pair node, and then the route node. So when we say like start node is the start of message processing, then route node is the end of message processing. So we can think of route node as the point at which the message exits OSB, in order to call some backend service. Okay. So these two are the boundary nodes. Okay, start node and the route node. So start node can be looked as a tree, and route node as the leaf nodes. Okay. Then you have these two other nodes, like branch node and pipeline pair node. Okay. So uh, so this also kind of with the types of nodes that are provided here, it also kind of explains, gives us an idea on how what type of message processing gets done in OSP. how different that is, when compared to what gets done in, let's say, in BitLab. So branch node essentially is you again, it has like two usages. One is like conditional branching, and that is another type of branching is operational branching. And then so we will look at that, and then we have something called pipeline pair node. Okay, so we'll in our next slide we will be talking in little more detail on this nodes. So for a quick second, let's shift to this. Want to let's say now here is the client. Okay, and then now let's say this is the endpoint. Okay, so this client is let's say before without OSB, this client is like directly calling this endpoint. Now we will want to introduce OSB layer in the middle just as an indirection, right? And so when you introduce a OSB layer, what do you create? You create a proxy service, right? Proxy service, and let's say it is this endpoint here. It is implementing this I1 interface. Okay, so this proxy service, let's say, is also implementing the same I1 interface. Right, now from a client perspective, all he has to do is now just it's a change of address. Instead of calling that endpoint, he's calling this. For him, nothing has changed other than that. Okay, it's the same Wisdo, same XSDs and everything. It is just that he is calling the endpoint address of the proxy service. So essentially, proxy address is nothing but an endpoint address. Now, say this is the OSB, right? So as the message like comes in, okay, as the message comes in, from this point to, let's say, these are the boundaries of OSB. So as the message flows through, OSB, this is where all the processing is done, like between these two points. Now this point, when the message like enters the system, okay, this point is represented. This point is represented by the start node. Okay, this point is represented by the start node, and then ultimately, here this processing again will be kind of OSB will end up calling the same endpoint, right? So when the message is like exiting the OSB system, then this is configured. Through the route node. Well, essentially, we will have a business service, right, which is representing that endpoint. So we will have a business service for that. But then, so essentially, as part of the message flow, we will be calling that business service in order to call that endpoint. So that's when the message kind of exits the system, right? So then that is configured using the route node. So you can think of start node as as when the message processing is starting, and a route node is as part of your message flow. Whenever you are getting ready to call the endpoint, then you do that through the route node. So that would mean that was the end of the request, like one-way processing of going in this direction from one end to another end. So and then in a flow, you can have like multiple route nodes. Okay, So let's say you can basing on